Hey there, I hope you're doing well. My name is Adam and today we're going to look at some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy Reddit stories, consider liking, subscribing, and maybe hitting that notification bell too. Let's get started with today's first story. Much love, everyone. Today's first story comes from my son thinks I'm homophobic, but I'm just trying to connect. How do I, 69 male, tell my son, 48 male, that I want to be a part of his life again, even if he's gay? I feel that I should preface by saying I'm not the typical type to ask the internet for advice on such a personal issue or any issue, but the unfortunate thing I've come to realize is that I can't discuss this with anyone. I know I'm in my late 60s and my son in his late 40s for relevance. For context, his mother and I divorced when he was young and for all intents and purposes, I essentially raised him as a single father from a certain point onward. I did my best to raise him well and to be sure he had everything he needed, but I worked a lot of hours and was very career-focused. I realize now I was somewhat absent. I'm also fairly emotionally reserved in general, at least when it comes to physically speaking. I'm better at writing. When he was in high school and in college he had several girlfriends, and one girl I thought he was very serious about for the majority of his time during his undergraduate education. They broke up after that. He never brought home any more girls or talked about any, and he moved away to attend medical school and we stopped talking as much as we had previously. I remember very distinctly one time while he was visiting on a break from school. I was worried about him and I had asked if he was on drugs. He just looked physically ill and in a poor state. He assured me it was stress from school and he would be fine, but I remember this clearly because this visit home was when I first started to think he could be gay. Now, the thing is, my son has never told me that he is gay, even to this day, but it has become an unspoken acknowledgement between us. He has a roommate, that's how we mutually refer to him, and he's had the same friend for a long time. Sometimes I will ask him, but the answers are always short, basically that he's doing well. I think I know maybe 5 things about his friend after some almost 20 years, maybe longer. We speak on the phone occasionally as we live far away, and this is something we never discuss much, if at all. Recently, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I think I'm a poor father somewhere down the line. I taught my son that we can't speak about who he is. I'll admit, I'm not the most versed in this kind of lifestyle thing, but I don't want to be shut out from his life. I want to tell him that whatever this is, he's perfectly fine in my book and I love him. I want to know him and his friend, but I don't know how to tell him or what to say. I'm not sure if I should say boyfriend, as again he's never said anything to me about being gay. I've just pieced it together over time. So I'm not sure if that's what I should say. Should I just spontaneously bring this up with him? There never seems to be a good time to say what I'm thinking and the topic seems too serious to send an email or a very long text message. I'm not sure if a written mode of communication would be too informal or make it seem that I don't care at that. I'm not sure where I should go from here. OP, considering everything, I think you're on the right track. You want to talk about this and it's a communication issue from what you tell us. Your relationship background with your son has always been around talking, so not much communication, but it's clear that you guys love each other. I mean, you openly say that you love your son and he has kept communication with you, even though he doesn't share as much as you would like. He hasn't cut you out of his life, so he does certainly love you. In my opinion, you need to address the hard topics straight on. Maybe ask him if he's ever felt like he can't talk about certain things with you. Ask him, and let him know that it's okay for him to share whatever he wants with you, and that you won't judge him because he's your son and that you love him and regardless of everything you continue to do so. Basically, my opinion is try to give him the chance to know that it's okay for him to share intimate details of his life with you and there will be no judgment and just love. Now, where I'm a bit stumped on your situation is on the medium because you say you're not really good at talking physically and you're better at writing. However, you also feel that writing might not be the most personal way of going about this thing. So on this point, I turn to you guys. What do you think OP should do at this point? Do you think he should write a letter? Give him a call, a Zoom call, a pop-up visit? How do you guys think OP should address this with his son? Apparently, it's a topic that they both acknowledge but have never spoken about. Maybe they're both uncomfortable with it. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and now, let's take a look at the community comments to see what kind of advice they gave OP. Shebleth says, since the two of you are so emotionally distant, I recommend writing him a letter. Give him a chance to go through his first set of emotions privately. If you haven't spoken this way to him before, he may need some time to think about his response. Things you definitely want to include: everything you said here about loving him, how proud you are of him, how you regret being distant and closed off to him, that you're sorry that you never built a close relationship with him. Things not to say: no demands of his forgiveness, though it's okay to ask, don't push for a do-over. If he decides he would like to get closer, then you'll be building up from where you are now. Give him a chance to respond before you push for a bright new future. Good luck. Bad Mod. No Kid Donut says, I want to tell him that whatever this is, he's perfectly fine in my book and I love him. I think you should write him a letter with that line included. Either that or prepare something and talk to him with that line included. The Flaming Head says, you say you're better with writing. I think writing a letter where you say everything you've said here and give it to him in person would be amazing. As a straight man whose father is emotionally closed off, I would love to receive something like this from him. Just to know that he is proud of me and loves me, and to admit he hasn't been a perfect father. I think in your son's situation, this would be twice as valuable. I hope I can read a follow-up on this in the future to hear how it went. And Dopey responds, thank you for your response. This resonated strongly with me. I think I'm a lot like my own father, and if he had ever had a conversation like this with me, it would have changed a lot about our relationship. We live far away, so unfortunately, meeting in person won't be a reality for a while, but I feel inspired to write him a letter and mail it. Well, in my opinion, I think the community was very helpful, and they even inspired OP to do something about how to reach his son. So apparently, he's going to write a letter and mail it to him, and the community again was very helpful in what he should include and what he shouldn't include. So how about we now move with the update to see what OP ended up doing. I'm thankful for all of the kind advice I received regarding my first message here. After reading all of your words, I decided I would handwrite my son a letter and send it in the mail as we live across the country. In summary, I wrote about many things, and the letter ended up being much longer than anticipated. I began by discussing some of my experiences with my father growing up and the ways I realized I had treated my son similarly. I had wanted to do better than my father, who had moments where he could be cruel, but I failed to realize that being too reserved was also a problem, and I leaned too far in that direction. After his mother left, I was depressed and I didn't deal with that as well as I should have. I apologized for being absent at work and for being emotionally unavailable at times when he would have needed me the most. I mentioned I'd like to change that in the future, but it's still something that's hard for me to do, and I understand he may need his own space. Then I wrote about how, even though I probably don't show it well, I do love him with my entire being. There's nothing he could do or be that can change that, and I'm proud of him for many things. I wrote that by extension, I love whoever he loves, and his chosen family is family to me as well. All said and done. The letter was several pages long. Then I mailed it, and it was incredibly hard to wait. I decided to text him to let him know I had sent him a letter, as we don't typically write, and it seemed like something that warranted some warning in advance of its arrival so he wouldn't be entirely caught off guard by it. Eventually, he sent me a text that he would like to call me. At the end of the day, we spoke about everything in the letter. I learned that he had believed I viewed him as a burden, which was disheartening to me, as I had always wanted to be a father since I was young, and I never saw him as being a burden, which I told him. We discussed his mother and the plethora of feelings surrounding her. This was a hard topic for me, as I still have many unresolved feelings here, but I realized because of this I never explained to him everything that happened. I also learned that he was afraid to disappoint me and that he had put a lot of effort into his career to make me proud of him, as he felt this was the way to impress me and that it would make up for his defects. I brought up that focusing on work over family and interpersonal relationships was one of my bigger regrets, and he admitted that being so career-driven was straining his personal life with everything going on at the moment. He also expressed that the medical profession was weighing on him, but he hadn't wanted to disappoint me by not being as emotionally strong as he thought I am. By this point in the conversation, we had both said a lot of very emotional things. He brought up that he felt it was hard to talk to me because I don't make it clear what I'm thinking, and so he felt it was always easier to only discuss work or accomplishments. With me and nothing personal, he felt it was easier to let his relationship be an unspoken understanding between us, as he felt I would be uncomfortable to know anything more. At this point, I confirmed that his friend is in fact his partner. He said he felt a lot of shame about it. I told him I regretted not reaching out to him sooner, that I'm sorry that my lack of availability had created this distance between us and that I'm always proud of him and not just for his career. We ended the conversation by discussing seeing each other in person, as it has almost been 10 years since we've actually seen each other. I expressed that I would like to fly out to visit him and his partner if he would feel comfortable. We are all fully COVID vaccinated. I now have a plane ticket for early next month, a date which is quickly approaching. I am glad for all of the encouragement I received from this website. I have nothing but gratitude for all of your kind words. Once again, I am asking for a little advice. I have never met his partner in person, nor have I ever spoken to him. He has been with my son for 2 decades at this point and likely knows him better than I do. I would like to make a good impression on him. However, I don't know any gay couples aside from them and, as was thankfully pointed out in my previous post here, I am not aware of all the proper ways to describe things as I incorrectly used the term lifestyle. I would like to be invited into their lives, so I wish to avoid offending either of them. Are there any suggestions of common things I should avoid saying to them? Perhaps I'm just nervous because this is coming up soon and I haven't seen my son in so long. Typing some of this out was helpful in and of itself, and that's all we know about this story up until this point. I'm pretty sure Opie got some really good advice from the community on what to say and not to say to avoid offending his son and his partner. What I find most encouraging about this update are 2 things. Opie was able to talk to his son about everything he wanted. All he needed to do was just start the communication off with a letter and the son then opened up, and their relationship, I would think, is already better than it used to be just by the fact of being able to talk and being open to what the other had to say. And 2, that Opie is willing to open up and learn new things, which tells me that love trumps everything. At 69 years old, Opie doesn't care about anything else but having a really close relationship with his son. That's the most important driver here, and that's what I think is going to really help Opie and the son bridge the gap that they've built between themselves and have a better relationship together. All in all, the post and the update were very encouraging. So I hope Opie and his son have had an awesome reunion and they're just doing great. And on that note, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Today I F'd Up and it's by user Another Vagabond. Today I F'd up by referencing Bob's Burgers and then being questioned by police detectives. My wife and I recently moved into a new place together and have been binge-watching Bob's Burgers while reorganizing things and while eating and sleeping and virtually any other time that someone is home. Well, in our new area, one of the first things we looked into setting up was the internet, and I was so grateful to discover such a wide variety of providers with competitive pricing and deals for new customers. Just kidding. I only had 2 choices, and if you look, they are both owned by the same company, which is totally not a monopoly. So we ordered the router and set it up ourselves. And we come to the point where you name your network and my wife says, "Oh, let's do the Belchers," referencing an episode where Bob gives out his family Wi-Fi to customers at the restaurant. The customer asks, "What's the password for the Wi-Fi?" and Bob says, "Our Wi-Fi," and the customer says, "Yeah, the one called Kids Trapped Get Help." So we make our network name Kids Trapped Get Help and go about our business. I'm guessing you can see where this is going. Flash forward to today. My wife gets a call from the local cyber cop unit saying that they are at the door and they need to come in to check the apartment. My wife immediately goes into explain mode and lets them look around the apartment to show that we are not in fact child abusers and have no children in our apartment at all. The cops were kind of understanding, saying they get calls about stuff like this sometimes and 9 times out of 10. It's a situation like this one, but obviously they check every single one regardless. Needless to say, we were forced to change our Wi-Fi name. However, we now have a funny story to tell at parties. In retrospect, we understand the mistake. We just didn't think that next to such network names as I Eat Babies and F the Couple in 7B, ours would even be noticed. Well, Opie, lesson learned. I have to say, though, I'm curious now about the couple in 7B. I mean, for somebody to name their network like that, they must have done something right, and it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you, so if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community. That just keeps growing and it is fantastic. And, like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content. So thank you once again, and having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.